Welcome to Successful Parenting, where we, Jackie Rue and Robin Choquette, share practical skills for families to build resilience and healthy connections. As practicing professionals and parents ourselves, we hope this podcast is a resource for parents to grow, reflect, and learn more about themselves and their children. Our approach is simple, tangible, and most importantly, we lead with compassion for the integrity of the families we serve. This podcast should not be taken as medical advice and is intended for informational purposes only. We love our work and we can't wait to watch families gain confidence and open themselves up to new ways of successful parenting.
Good morning, Robin. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. How are you today, Jackie?
I am good. I'm looking forward to this week. I cannot believe Thanksgiving week is already upon us. I'm looking forward to spending some time with family. How is it for you? I know you just got to Kansas yesterday, or you went to Kentucky.
I went to Kentucky. I'm really excited because I get to be with my brother and sister and their families, and so I love it. That is the part that I just love about this holiday is really getting together and just spending time with people that we really love. And Jackie, I was thinking about recently been discussing how acts and statements and thoughts of gratitude, not only can it help others, it really improves our own mood and our own perspective. When we take those pauses and really are able to look at what we're grateful for, it really makes a difference, right? And it can impact our responses and our communication. And then we see that a change in relationships and in the home.
Well, it's interesting. Funny enough, I was reading about this morning and I found a quote from Greg Grandchamp and it talked about gratitude and it said, gratitude changes our attitudes and our actions. It changes how we live. This is the power of living a life of thanks, of gratitude for our blessings, whether those blessings are great or small. And this is really the power of Thanksgiving. And I thought this really resonated with me because I find myself around the holidays so busy and I get caught up in the small things. And I'm really trying to this holiday season take a step back and just be grateful for whatever, this week brings.
I love it. I love that quote. That was a good one. It's interesting this week talking to families and the holidays are coming up. And one of the things that one client said is that they realize that they are trying to recreate what it was, 3 years ago prior to the pandemic. And they're getting caught back up into the fast pace, the stress, all of that. And during the pandemic, I think we all kind of slowed down and made it more simple, although it was often difficult because we couldn't see some of the people we love, but we made it much more simple. And my client was saying, I realize I'm trying to recreate what we had before, but I'm also recreating all the stress and just that nonstop kind of getting caught up in the details. I was thinking about Dr. Dewar. We had him on talking about mindfulness and how important that is when we think about gratitude is just being able to be in the moment and then be able to identify the things that we're really grateful for and how helpful that is.
And I think his conversation was so helpful. A lot of families are really asking us, how do we help instill more compassion and empathy with our children and just overall within our family? And this topic is so fitting. I find for myself, gratitude is easier to practice when things are going well
Right.
but I find when it's during the really, really stressful times and the turbulent times that it's hard to find those silver linings and those things to be grateful for. I know when we're teaching children and adolescents about gratitude, we really talk about it from being something that is a practice that can really improve your mood and your perspective, like we've talked about. It also really runs deep in relationships and it really changes connections. And so many families are saying we want our kids to be more connected, outside of video games, outside of just the hustle and bustle. But studies have actually shown that specific areas of the brain are involved in expressing and experiencing gratitude. And it's interesting, they've conducted brain scans of people that were assigned to tasks that stimulates expressions of gratitude. And it showed lasting changes in the prefrontal cortex that actually heightened sensitivity to future experiences of gratitude. And this was from Psychology Today. And so what's interesting, when we start to practice with our children early on, or we start to make it a practice that we find things to be grateful for, or as we're going to share a little bit later, just some ways to do it, it actually starts to impact our brain chemistry as well as changes the course of how we experience gratitude later in our life. And I found that so, so telling.
When you're talking about that, one thing I often will say to people when we talk about gratitude is really the aspect of memory and how we can have that in our mind of things that we're really grateful for about our our child's good qualities and those things we can more quickly bring those up and have them part of our working memory, and that's going to help us to define the things that were important and what we're really trying to do versus getting caught up in what's happening and not being in the moment of this is really what I want to do now. And I am really grateful for my child in so many ways. And I think it's difficult, absolutely. But it is something I think even when we practice in a small ways, I think it can make a huge difference, realizing what you're grateful for, being in the moment, trying to look at the whole picture. And I had someone this week ask me, how do you do that? And I said, it just takes practice. It really does. And just look for that silver lining, appreciate when it's even difficult or challenging. And I think the support for others and opportunities to say, I'm grateful that we can grow, although this was difficult, is a huge piece of that.
And I know you're referring to really what we talk about with, the grateful parenting, but, so many families and, parents, for example, have said to me, God, my child, they have such a kind of a negative outlook, or they have such a hard time dealing with like distress or frustration. And it's so interesting that we're seeing that some of the science behind gratitude actually ties to that perspective, that glass is half full or half empty. The more grateful we are, the more we start to look at things a little bit different. And that really does tie into parenting with gratitude as we're modeling to our children and to our family, as well as some of the practices and ways we even, I know you and I talk often about language, how we respond and how we view things and how we verbalize to our children is really modeling. And that really ties into the practice. As we use certain language, as we start to develop certain behaviors and even activities in the home, it really does start to shift. This is not fair to, this is a really difficult situation, but what am I grateful for within it? And sometimes it might even be just an opportunity to grow. Sometimes it might even be, even though this situation's really difficult, we're grateful that we have the support, we have the skills to work through it. It's really helping our children start to see things from a different perspective, as well as, start to really want to share some of those things with others, not only the mindset, but also share kindness and share different acts that maybe tie into, I can be empathetic for you and I can feel for you. And that's really how our children start to build that intimacy in relationships.
And that grateful parenting. Gratitude really opens the door to so much more relationships, deeper relationships, improves our physical health. The psychological health improves our empathy and reduces aggression. When your child's really kind of driving you crazy, if you think about it, if I can improve my empathy and reduce my aggression, I'm probably going to be able to be more effective in my parenting, just in my communication. Research shows that people who are grateful sleep better. It improves self esteem. I was telling one parent, this is a practice that can help your child's self esteem. And they were like, ooh, I think we need to practice that. And I'm like, yeah, let's put that in as part of what we're trying to do. Mental strength. We talk about resilience a lot. Here's a great thing.
Absolutely. And it really does make such an impact. And, just some simple practices. We talk about gratitude a lot around this time of year, around the holidays, but really there's been a lot of push in schools for realizing that thinking about something that you're grateful for does improve your engagement in school and the family. And just even a simple practice that families can do is just recognizing, maybe at dinner or recognizing in the morning or before bedtime, what is something today that I'm grateful for? And it shouldn't necessarily be about like money or things, but what is something in life or something, an ability I have or someone in my life that I'm grateful for? And realizing that if something is going wrong or there's a really difficult time, it's a moment. It's not all encompassing. It's not forever, but this is what we're experiencing right now and we can be grateful whether it's a happy moment, a sad moment, frustrating moment, really starting to be grateful for all moments. And I know when I was brought up, it tended to be more we were grateful for blessings. And I think we're seeing research is showing us that really finding, gratitude in the moment and appreciating each moment, even when it's difficult or challenging. And that really builds resilience in our children. And that's what really pushes our children to want to work through difficult situations. And also, just being thankful for what is. And the more we practice this when things are going okay, the easier it's going to be to really automatically kind of express or be in that moment when things are really stressful or difficult.
Yeah. I don't know about you, Jackie, but this was something that I did think about when my girls were younger, and it was something that we practiced, and I was intentional in some of the things that I definitely did in terms of gratitude and wanted them to be able to have that and to understand it. And I thought it was something important for me to teach and how to model that. And simple things is just simply saying thank you is a huge piece of it. Making gratitude a part of every day. If you can find that one thing every day, I think is so helpful. A lot of people say journaling is helpful. Some people put visual boards up and have things to be added to it. I've seen people on the bathroom mirror where they'll write with those markers that are easily washable off, and the kids every day will write something new, and at the end of the week they clean it off and then get started. There's a way to get your kids to clean the mirror in the bathroom, right? Getting them involved in donating. When my girls were little, what we would give for teachers, we would find a not-for-profit or an organization that we really liked, and in some way we may have been connected, and then they would donate. Either we would go pick out things and physically donate, or we donated our time by going Christmas Eve and setting up, for Christmas breakfast and things like that. My kids says that some of their most fond memories of the holidays is when we got involved in just donating not only money but our time, and we were actually involved in it. There's just so many ways to do it. I think what really fits your family is really how to do it. I may do it that way, but there's a lot of other ways. Simply reading a book, if that's a huge thing that you do in your family, that might be a great way to do it. Just how do you express it?
Well, and I love how you just mentioned some of those ideas. And I think really having it be something that you do throughout the year and not even just at holidays, right? And,
Right.
even, when you are in stores and things like that, I love how you said like hello and, even greeting people by name if they're wearing a name tag, practicing those social skills and those connections that we've seen evidence is pointing to a lot of our children are really lacking. And what we're finding is parents are saying, we don't know how to connect to our children. They're going in the room, they're wanting to be on games. And this is another way that we can really promote that social skills, understanding, empathy. And it really does improve when our children feel connected, not only just to us, but to others around them. That changes their confidence, that changes their mood, that changes their brain chemistry. And so there is a lot of evidence to point to this. And as we are busy this year and we're kind of running around, just being mindful of those around us when we're with our children, but when we're, all the time, but in particular when you're with your children in the stores and being mindful of when we're rushing and pushing people out of the way and running to the counter and getting all of our stuff, being mindful of using those opportunities. Actually, I was in the UPS store last night and I was mailing a package for someone, and I didn't realize you had to have your license to mail a package at UPS for whatever reason. And so I said to the staff, I don't have my license. And they said, well, we're sorry, you have to go home and get that. And a gentleman next to me says, oh, I would love to let her use my license. Can I, put this on my
Oh,
account? Yeah. And I paid for it, but and the staff just looked at me and him like it was kind of odd. And he said, no, I really want to do this. And he did that. And it was so small, but it
right,
was one of those things that he just without a beat just jumped in and wanted to help me. And so it made me leave and say, gosh, I want to help someone else. And
right.
you see how contagious it is and how
Yeah.
good I felt in that moment. Small things make such a difference.
Yeah. Jackie, before you were talking about the brain and kind of what's going on, here's what we see is that when we either express it or we receive gratitude, what happens is dopamine and serotonin, those two crucial neurotransmitters that are responsible for our emotions, things that make us feel good, that's all happening. and it enhances our mood immediately and makes us happy from the inside. I often talk about how can we hack into some of those, expressing gratitude when you receive gratitude, be in that moment to experience it and just what happened to you in your description. I love that because that's what happens when we're allowing ourselves to be there.
Absolutely, and children too, and I'm hearing this more and more that they're having a hard time with perspective taking, and they're having a hard time with just relationships, and it many, preteens and teenagers are really fixated on social media and how they look and kind of consumed by that, and this is another way that the more we have connections, the more we feel that we can make a difference with those around us, the more we feel that we have support, the less likely we are to just focus on ourselves or to be so critical of ourselves because we can see the bigger picture. I love a lot of what we're talking about, and I think it does impact so many. And I think we have so much to be grateful for. I think we
Right.
started this podcast 4 or 5 months ago, really starting just to kind of learn about it. And I know for you too, I'm just so grateful for all of our experts that have come on and all of the
Mhm.
people that have helped us along the way. It
Yeah.
really has made it such a more joyful experience.
Right. Experts have stepped up and said, we're willing to do it even before we ask because they see the value in this. And that feels good when someone can see our vision and what we're trying to do. And it really is great. And those families and parents that we've worked with and we're meeting more and just coming in, it's just a real pleasure to be working with everyone. And Jackie, thank you, because this is something that I've wanted to do for some time. You and I've talked about it, and I really appreciate you jumping in. I know it's a lot of work sometimes, but I just love us being able to provide this for others.
Yes, I agree. And for everyone out there, we hope you have an amazing week. It might be a week other than Thanksgiving week because I know listeners listen at different times, but I think the gratitude practices are really key all year. And we have seen it make a difference from our side. So hopefully this was helpful for everyone and stay safe and healthy and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone, for listening, and hope you have a happy Thanksgiving. Bye, Jackie.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us, and make sure to subscribe and like us to catch our next episode, where we will take you on a journey to find new ways of successful parenting.